So great to see you as a free man. I can't even stand it.
Really, thank you. It feels great,
Yeah.
and I'm glad to see you on the other side of that wall.
Right? Like it's just so weird. I was thinking this morning, you have this relationship inside with somebody, but it's superficial on some regard, but yet you feel like you're so close to them, but you can be included in their life, but you can't.
Right, right,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, it's just so nice when you're out to be normal,
Oh, a breath of fresh air.
right? So how long were you inside total?
Uh, 15 years, 5 months.
Oh man.
Yeah, on a nonviolent third strike. I was sentenced to 28 years, 4 months to life, and served 15 years, 5 months on that.
And how'd you get those 13 years shaved off?
Um, Prop 57.
Oh, nice. And when did that go into effect in your case?
I believe 2017 is when the bill was passed for Prop 57, and it allowed all nonviolent lifers to have their board hearing advanced. Because I actually should not have been going to the board until 2032.
Ooh.
Yeah. So with the inclusion of Prop 57, it knocked 6 years off of that, which made me eligible to go to the board in 2030. But because of Prop 57's point system, I was eligible to go in 2022.
And that was your first time? Did you go a second time?
Yes. So the first time I went, I was denied, and rightfully so, because I realized at that point I was not ready, because I really hadn't started taking any groups or anything. And I was actually adamant about not taking any groups until one of the guys that worked at San Quentin News with me, Alberto,
Mm-hmm. Know
he
him?
he and I were speaking about uh, um, his getting out and the road that he took to get there. And he had asked me if I had taken any groups or what were my plans. And I told him, "Eh, I don't F a group, you know." And he he told me, he says, "That's not the way to get out. That's not the attitude to have to get out." So he had me write a timeline. Once I did the timeline, he dissected it and told me to focus on certain points of the timeline. And he made me see that there were some things that I was actually missing in my thinking. So I started delving into the self-help groups, trying to figure out my why. And yeah, I mean, it sparked from there.
So when you said timeline, it wasn't your timeline to get out or necessarily re-entry, but timeline of your life?
Yes, yes. And that was to identify certain events in my life that triggered my criminal thinking, my criminal behaviors, and to understand why I had been doing the things that I had been doing, in order to understand where I was going from here.
Yeah. Which is so common, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting and you've got so many ideas and thoughts on this, but what year did you go in now?
In 2009.
And so they should have said to you early then, and this is what you need to do, Vincent. These are the things that will be expected of you. Instead, I always equate it with people that, okay, we kept you in here for 15 years. Now we're going to give you a test, but we never told you how to study for it.
Right.
Oh, here you
Right.
go. Oh, yeah, here you are taking this. Yep, you failed. Here you
Right.
go. Now, had you not messed with Alberto, would they have given you a clear plan to get out?
So 4 years prior to going to your actual board hearing as a lifer, they give you what is called a consultation. And in the consultation, they tell you what you need to do in order to be successful at the board hearing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get out at that board hearing. It just means that this is what could possibly get you home when you go to the board.
Yeah.
However, I didn't get out by the board.
Mm-hmm.
I was released on 1170 recall of sentence.
Oh, interesting. Explain
Yeah.
that.
So CDCR in 2022, I believe, had to identify everyone who they consider was under an illegal sentence. And it was determined that I was under an illegal sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea. And what that entailed was when the judge sentenced me to the life sentence, he initially said 25 years. Then he doubled back and said, well, that sentencing scheme does not work. So he added a 3-year and 4-month enhancement on top of it. They gave me 3 1-year prison prior enhancements. I believe it was 2022. The 1-year prison prior enhancements were deemed unconstitutional. CDCR had to identify that. So they sent my paperwork back to the trial court. And actually the judge denied my 1170. And it wasn't until 2024 where the appellate court picked it up and said that he denied my resentencing in error and that I was entitled to a full resentencing hearing.
Whoa.
So in 2025, the appellate court ruled in my favor. And yeah, that's why I'm here today.
That's so great.
The ironic thing, sir, is that I got out on my daughter's birthday.
Oh my God. How old was she?
38.
Oh, and so you went in when she was 17? 18?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing warm and nothing good in that place. That there's not couches. I don't think people realize that. There's no couches, there's no nice chairs, there's no rugs. There's, yuck.
Yeah. The fortunate thing for me was that I was able to work for San Quentin News, where I had some semblance of normalcy. Computers.
I feel like you're treated a little more with respect in there too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. People look up to you.
And we're also held to a higher standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you got more politics, and then the guys in there are not, they kind of, I feel like they take on the persona of the prison and kind of eat each other alive a bit.
And yeah, yes.
For lack of better words, I shouldn't say each other alive, right? But they very much don't have each other's back.
That would be a correct assessment.
Yeah. And it doesn't be successful when you're given such a great, wonderful thing.
Right.
Band together and you could do one, be that much better and sort of successful and really pervade the atmosphere. And that's one thing I noticed with Human San Quentin. Like when I was first going in there and I first met you, people they didn't talk about humanity. They didn't see how each other was doing. They didn't, really dive into people. But I feel like now you hear those words, empathy and compassion, and people are much more, they take a little more time and maybe give each other the benefit of the doubt a little more. So yeah, I feel like we're definitely making strides that way, but gosh, it'd be great to get in that media room and make that a healthy environment.
Right. So I know when I first started going to the media room, which was in 2019, I saw the toxicity in there. But like I told one of the guys who went home, Alfred, he was an older gentleman, but he used to write for San Quentin News as a contributing writer. I told him, you know what? No matter where I go, I'm not going to let anyone change the person that I am. So I stayed away from a lot of the toxicity missed in San Quentin News.
And that's a good way, I would say, to, if I were to encapsulate when I think about your personality, that you are, for lack of a better word, normal, but you're really grounded in yourself and you are who you are and you're solid, and it just pervades, I think, even, around the people you're around, and, the confidence of just being a good person really holds true with you.
I don't try and be a good person. I just be who I am.
Yeah. Which happens to be a good person.
Thank you. It's been amazing out here. And I want to thank you for all the letters and stuff that you've written me for the board. I really appreciate that. How the small interactions that we had inside San Quentin, I mean, you were confident enough in me to write letters in my behalf for the board. And I know I didn't get a chance to actually tell you that inside, because after a year or two, I just haven't seen you much.
I know. It's like, even when you're out here, sometimes you see people all the time and sometimes you don't, or you're passing them on the street and then you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did when I got out, the day after I got out, I went and got my driver's license. Because I tell people, my shoes are not made for walking, right? So I put so many miles on my wife's car since I've been home. It's amazing, but it feels good.
Where are you living?
In Pinole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a transitional home in Pinole. There's 5 other guys in the house, 2 guys to a room, and I mean, it's lovely. The transition, like I said, the transition has been great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could have been in a place like Geo in San Francisco.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. But so I was actually supposed to parole to San Jose, which is where what my plans were. Mm-hmm. However, they didn't have any beds available, so I ended up here in Pinole. Mm-hmm. And this Contra Costa County, East Bay, I know very little about. Even though I grew up in San Francisco, that 101 corridor, San Francisco to San Jose, I know that well. Mm-hmm. So I'm still trying to navigate this area over here.
Yeah. So is that where your wife is?
So she's in Hayward.
What did it take to get you to that point where you were able to actually see where your criminal thinking had began, or what had attributed to it?
Well, one of the things that he had me do is to go back as far as I could to identify instances in my life where my thinking could have changed, right? So I think I went back as far as the age of 8 when I was molested by a woman. And after I wrote that timeline, so during the time that he was dissecting it, I was in my cell and I'm thinking about what I had written. And I'm like, you know what? I can think a little bit. I think I can think back a little bit further to events that triggered my thinking. So I really delved into it, and I went back to almost to the age of 3, where my first resentments came from. So prior to my sisters being born, it was just me. And I didn't have any older uncles or anything like that. It was all women in my family. And so I used to get a lot of love and attention. Then when my sisters came, I started feeling like I wasn't getting the love and attention that I had been getting prior to their being born. So I started acting out. And I think I identified that my resentments towards my sisters being born was at around the age of 3.
Whoa.
And then I also identified the fact that I resented my mother for having them.
Oh my.
That's when I was able to really delve into my timeline and start identifying and putting pieces together. The resentment towards my father for not being there, living in the same city and my having very little contact with him. Resenting the fact that my mother had a boyfriend that just used to beat the shit out of me, and resenting her and my dad for not protecting me. And then just going up to resent people in authority, meaning starting with my mom and my dad, because of not being protected. When in my mind, they are the ones who were supposed to be protecting me. Mm-hmm. And without that protection, I withdrew into myself. I stopped being that person, that joyful person that I was as a child, and just started acting out in ways I believe to obtain attention from adults. There's one line that I always use when I tell people about my journey, and it's, when I was a child, I was seeking the ghost of an absent dad,
Oh.
which is what caused me to look in other places for love and attention. And as I got older, that attention, that inclusiveness came with guys in my neighborhood, right? And although I had one positive role model growing up and a friend, all of my other ones were negative.
Ooh.
And I gravitated more to the negative as opposed to the positive.
So profound to think that you could go back that early and really tag those moments and see how it shaped you later on. Were you doing a lot by yourself? Did you have any kind of therapy inside?
No, I didn't have any therapy. In my criminal behaviors over the years, I always strove to better myself in some way or another. So once Eddie put me on this course of self-awareness, I just took it and ran with it, because I knew that the only way that I could discover who I was for me to delve into myself. I don't do a lot of talking to people, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm more inside of my head than I am outside of it.
Mhm.
So it was kind of an easy task for me to work on me.
It's just so admirable to think that you could dissect all that on your own. How long have you been out?
2 months,
Oh
two
my
days,
god.
2 months and 2 days.
Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
huge. Congrats. Have you had any triggers or anything that you've had to really work at, not to be re-triggered by anything, or things that you would have acted on or done before that you don't do now?
There's a lot of things that I don't do now. One is I don't take things personal anymore. I'm not that angry person that I was before I went to prison. So I've gotten rid of that. I have discovered since I've been home that I have had certain frustrations, but I do not allow the frustrations to become barriers to have me deviate from the plan that I have moving forward.
Mhm.
And so and they've been minor. Um, and I go to these groups, and one of the things they ask is, you know, well, on your anger meter, what has it been for the week? And I haven't been angry about anything, right? Because I would talk to my daughter and certain people before getting out, and I would tell they when they would tell me that they were going through certain things, my response was, well, you know, I wish I had those grown up problems. Now that I'm out here, I'm enjoying those grown up problems because they're solvable. I've done a lot of work on myself to the point where I don't let anything knock me off my Dean. There's always a positive in a negative situation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if I stay clear minded and focused, then I believe I can overcome anything that comes my way.
Well, to survive for 15 years in those California prisons, you got an armor of resilience that apparently you're still carrying with you.
Yes. Yes. I look at things a lot differently today than I did before.
Yeah. What would you say to yourself if you could go back to a point in time pre-incarceration?
Have to be to not take things personal. You know, grow up. You know, don't assume that everything that everyone does is an attack on you, meaning myself. Um, because, as I said, I was angry for years. You know, I held a whole lot of resentments for years. I held entitlement issues for years. I was very impulsive, you know, and I didn't think about the consequences of a lot of my actions.
Mhm.
So today, I think about all of that. You know, I walk with purpose. My values have changed. You know, I don't value the things that I used to value before. My brother used to tell me that I used to live above my means. My values reflected in that. You know, I had to have, you know, the best looking car. I had to have a certain amount of money daily, right? Today, I don't need that. I can be frugal and be happy. I can thrift shop and be content. I can walk outside and look at the sun and think, you know what? I appreciate this now. I don't ever want to lose this. I never want to be in a situation or position to where when I look up at night, all I'm seeing are concrete walls.
Does freedom feel like you thought it would feel?
It's funny because it feels like I've never left the streets.
Yeah.
Because this was not my first rodeo. I tell people, when the other times that I went to prison, I took the streets with me, but when I came home, I didn't bring prison home with me, right? And I pride myself on the fact that I've never had that mindset of being institutionalized. Because when you're, in my opinion, once you become institutionalized, then things that you do outside of prison will reflect that institutionalization. And I never want that to be a part of my narrative.
When you wrote to us, I think there's a quote, and we put it up on our social media. I can see my future and it looks nothing like the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah. It touches on exactly what you're saying now about you're not going to live where you were or take where you were with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do believe that if you really want to change, it will happen. It will happen. You can't force someone to change. That was reflective of the years prior to my life term. I thought I was learning lessons. I know after my last prison term, I told myself, I'm never going back because I don't like the way I was being treated, things like that, right? I don't like being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, right? But I had not worked on myself. And in order for me to make the changes that I made, I had to actually work on myself.
Well, you did, and it shows. Like I can just feel it feels like you have this peace inside you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like CRI and the other groups, Vogue and Grip, Grip uses Q-tip. Quit taking it personal.
I haven't heard that before.
That's what I do now. Quit taking it personal. I even enjoy being in traffic when I'm stuck in it. I have no problems with being in traffic on the freeways. Yeah. And I found myself like, how people want to merge into your lane and they're anxious to do so. I find myself pulling back and allowing people in. Yeah. This is a joy that I did not appreciate prior to my life term. But I also have to be mindful because since being home, I obtained my DOT medical certificate. I have a Class A driver's permit. And so I'll be going to school within the next few weeks for my Baha'i New World training to get my Class A license. So I really have to be mindful of how I drive because anything that I do in my personal vehicle will reflect on my Class A license.
Very true.
Yeah. So
you just seem to have the right mindset already, right? You're not going to push it in situations that could potentially get you into danger.
No. So 4th of July, example. I was up and on the road at about 6 o'clock and people are zooming. And I'm cognizant of the fact that, today is one of those days where Highway Patrol is really going to be on you. Yeah. So I am not driving any faster than 70 miles an hour. I may go down to 68, 66, and I saw so many people being pulled over because they're in a hurry. And I'm like, don't you people know that the Highway Patrol out here in force? So
tell us what you want to do in the future. So you want to get your Class A license, and what do you want to do with it?
So I want to get my Class A license. I want to drive for maybe 2 years. But on the other side of that, I want to, along with my daughter, continue building on our truck driver training program.
Yeah.
And on the business side of it out here. So my goal within the next 5 years is to have our Concrete Roads Trucking LLC up, running, and our being able to assist men and women coming out of prison and to getting them into gainful employment.
That is just brings so much warmth to my heart to hear you say that here you are building a company that's going to be beneficial to people getting out, and you will have the roadmap to be able to hand to them so they can then be successful.
Yes. And another dynamic that I want to incorporate, and I'm going to talk to some people today about, is a lot of people don't want to drive trucks, but they will drive Class C vehicles. So I want to contract with a company that does deliveries, van type deliveries, 26-foot box trucks. And I want to get a fleet of those. And for people who don't want to drive big rigs, then be able to put them in jobs that they can do driving Class C vehicles. I have a meeting with the San Francisco District Attorney at 12 today.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, she was keynote speaker for our first graduation, and she has been playing an integral part in helping us bring the program to San Francisco as a diversion program for justice impacted people, which is why I'm incorporating the automobile portion to it, to give people who don't want to drive trucks the ability to still be employed with a Class C license.
Are you guys just in San Quentin now?
Yeah, we're in San Quentin. My daughter is right now filling out her brown card for Chowchilla because they want the program there.
For the women and the men?
For the women there.
Okay.
And then I should be working with DOR to expand into other institutions.
That's awesome.
It's my daughter and I.
Nice.
So she and I are the ones who started the truck driver training program in San Quentin. Right. And she's
how you do that in there without having a truck for them to drive?
So we do all of the paperwork instruction, videos, tests, things like that, in order to have people be able to come out of prison and go to DMV and take their test to get their Class A permit.
Gotcha.
Right. And with that Class A permit, it fast tracks you into the trucking industry because you can, one, either get a job alongside a licensed driver and learn that way, or you can go to a trucking school and within 2-3 weeks obtain your commercial license and then find employment after that.
And how long does that whole program take inside there?
So our program inside is 8 months. Administration has already approved us to be able to bring in simulators.
Oh, perfect.
Which will add another dynamic to the program inside. And then once that's up and running, later on down the line, I will propose to have a rig brought in. We can do offsetting some of the skills tests so that when people do come out, they'll be well equipped and confident enough to get into a rig and take their test.
So I got my license in the 80s, and we actually had a trailer at my high school with simulators. I didn't think they had those anymore.
Oh, you mean for the for automobile?
Yeah.
Yes, they had that when I was in school as well. But yes, they do have simulators. So 10 days after I got out, we had our second cohort graduation. We graduated 60 students, and I had a representative from a simulator company, Virage Simulators. So yeah, they still do. They're still incorporating simulators into a lot of training.
This is a side thing, but I was in a prison in Norway, a women's prison, and talking to the governess there. They don't call them wardens, and she had her thing is once someone's put in, it was maximum security. She's like, once someone's put in here, she's like, we do the best we can within the first 2 weeks to get enough time with them to find out exactly what they want to do when they get out. And then we just work on that the whole time. So when their date comes, they can walk out and be employed. She had this one woman who wanted to drive a tractor, and they actually took down some of the barbed wire fencing to bring the tractor in so she could learn how to drive it.
That's great. I'm glad you mentioned that too. You mentioned it earlier on. When people come into prison, CDCR should start there with a plan for people's release. That would probably curb a lot of the recidivism.
Yeah.
Because my daughter and I, when we created this program, we created it for people to have a pathway into employment, right? And a lot of the students, I tell them, look, you know what? You can have an idea of what you want to do, right? And you can have this idea for years, and then when you get on the other side of that gate, and life's lessons hit you, you know that idea it's fleeing. But with what we're doing, we're providing a plan. People are more apt to follow a plan than they will an idea, because a plan is solid. What we're providing will help you achieve that if you're serious about it.
The word that you guys taught me in there, which I hadn't been familiar with before, was to stay in your lane.
So
they're good at staying on your lane. Well, just let me know, I'll stay in my lane. You'll tell each other, stay in the lane.
Right. Well, you know, I think a lot of people in there use it as a negative connotation, whereas it's meant to just, you know, mean just do what you're doing. If you're proficient in, let's say, interviewing, then you do that. If I'm proficient in setting appointments or, you know, things like that, let me do this. Because if one person tries to do everything, it convolutes the whole system. And I'm guilty of that, because the trucking program, I was trying to do everything. I was facilitator, secretary, chairman, you know, I was trying to do everything. And what I was not doing was relying on the people that I had in place to help me. And a lot of times I was not sharing the things that were in my head with them, because I'm trying to do so much. I'm trying to grade homework, create homework, piling so much onto my plate that I could have just easily handed over to people who were competent enough to be able to do that alongside me.
And especially giving them the honor to take it on, right, and have that ownership. And then you're more of a team going at it, as opposed to you trying to move the needle. Because yes, you can do it quicker, and yes, you can see it. You got to step back and let people chime in and give them, and they appreciate it in there. You know, we've got our team in there, and they, you know, we're trying to bring people up and have them do stuff all the time. So
yeah.
It's a gift to be able to have what you have and be able to give it to someone else, which I assume you've done now, right? Since you're out.
Yes. And the person that I left in charge was very surprised that they ended up being in the position that they were in. I left a good team of people in there, and they're doing an excellent job. But I'm hoping to go back in on the 1st when our next cohort starts. I got out on May 5th, and the 15th was our second cohort graduation. I was actually on the road to coming back in. However, my parole agent was taking his time signing the paperwork. Had he signed it, I would have been in for the graduation.
Oh my God, that'd have been amazing.
Yeah. My daughter went. It was enjoyable. We graduated 60 of them. So, you know, hey,
wow,
I was not upset about that.
That's a huge amount of people.
Yeah. So, what we did after the first cohort, we added a Spanish cohort to it. So we had 30, 35 English, 30, 35 Spanish. Yeah.
That's key. And what I've noticed with our program too, you really need someone inside who's fluent in Spanish and has the respect of them to really bring them in and willing to help them go through the materials and learn it and feel like they can be successful.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like there's such an underdog in there that they really, you know, rely on each other. But it also is people like you and I that are trying to beg them to come and be a part of it. But yeah, it's hard. Being Hispanic is difficult in Brazil.
So I plan to go to school to learn Spanish. Something I should have done a long time ago. Well, I started, and had I completed my studies, I would be fluent in Spanish right now. However, Now I'm struggling. I'm going to definitely revisit that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think in California, it should be a prerequisite that
Yeah,
you're gonna live here, you gotta speak Spanish.
right. Yes.
So where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years?
You know, the first thing that came to my head when you said that was a song, Sitting on Top of the World. Um, and when I say sitting on top of the world, what I mean is being comfortable, enjoying my life, not having any drama or major toxicity in it and around it, enjoying what the world has for me. In the past, I would have said, oh, yeah, I want to have a business and a home and this and that and the other. I feel I don't have to mention the materialistic things. Peace of mind is what I'm striving for, to be able to give back, just to live life.
Seems like you're already on the road there. Like, I just sense it from you that you've been through that trauma, you worked through it somehow, and now you're just yourself and just ready to be peaceful and work and enjoy what you got, even if it's sitting in traffic every day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it. The simple life.
Is there anything else that I didn't cover that you want to share?
I would like to say that one of the things that really tugged in my heart when I got out, when I was on the other side of the wall, beyond the wall, is how I really feel for the people who are still behind the walls, right? How they're not able to enjoy this freedom that I've been given. I think about the limitations that's placed on those inside. How when you're inside, that's your world, right? That's all you know, that's all you see. But to be out here and to look back, you realize that that is wasted time. There's a lot of good people who've done bad things, but it doesn't make them bad people, right? And it doesn't take 20, 30, 40 years for a person to be rehabilitated, for a person to change their thinking, for a person to want to become better. I feel for the guys inside that I know should be out here.
That's a mic drop right there. I feel the exact same way, and they need to be mentors to people that are out here. So we don't keep housing people again and again. But like you said, you can't spend all those years and expect someone just to be let out and it be okay, them
Right.
be a person.
Yeah. I don't know if it's designed for people to fail, but I do know it's not designed to help people to succeed. And that's what, if you want to invest in humanity, then you must invest in their success. If you don't start, like you said at the beginning, when people first come in, then you're setting a lot of people up for failure, because a lot of people don't have direction. In my head, there was a time where I thought that, okay, I got it. I understand. However, when I started thinking about my thinking, I was still lost.
I appreciate you sitting down with me today, Vincent.
No problem at all. I enjoyed it. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's so nice to see you out here. Too bad I can't give you a big hug.
I know, right?